So just by looking at it right now, I think it's pretty plain to say that the client's center of pressure is approximately in his midfoot. Measure how far anteriorly or posteriorly his ankle is from the midline of his body. Represent the approximate midline of his body. And to see whether or not his knee joint is posterior or anterior in relation to the midline of his body. Assessing the client's hip joint. Posterior.
The shoulder joint seems to be 2 centimeters anterior to the midline. And our client's cervical spine looks like to be 3 centimeters posterior to the midline.
Upon visually seeing, we can tell that the client has a anterior pelvic tilt. Upon visual observation, the client's center of pressure appears to be slightly lateral to the midline of his body.
The chin is neutral to the midline. The sternal notch is also neutral to the midline. The xiphoid process is also neutral to the midline. The navel is also neutral to the midline.
Upon visual observation, the client's center of pressure appears to be shifted more to the rear foot.
The ankle joint is 7 centimeters posterior now. The knee joint is now 8 centimeters posterior to the midline. The hip joint is 4 centimeters posterior to the midline. The lumbar spine is 19 centimeters posterior to the midline. The client's shoulder joint is 5 centimeters posterior to the midline. The client's cervical spine is 9 centimeters posterior to the midline.
So upon visual observation, the client's center of pressure appears to be in the midfoot.
The chin looks to be neutral to the midline. Next we'll go into the sternal notch. The sternal notch actually needs to be shifted 1 centimeter to the client's left. Next we'll go on to the xiphoid process. The xiphoid process looks to be 1 centimeter to the client's left as well. Next we'll go on to the navel. Navel is also 1 centimeter to the client's left. And then finally we go down to the pubis. The pubis is also 1 centimeter to the client's left.
Now we'll be assessing the client's pelvic obliquity. Alright, so upon visual observation, the client's pelvic obliquity appears to be neutral.
Okay, so we have determined that the heavy backpack did influence the client's posture. This was demonstrated in both the frontal and sagittal planes. In the frontal plane, the multiple landmarks were shifted to the left, which was caused by the uneven weight distribution in the backpack, which was distributed slightly to the left. And in the sagittal plane, basically, without the weight, the lumbar spine was only 8 centimeters posterior to the midline, whereas with the added weight of the backpack, the lumbar spine was 19 centimeters posterior to the midline.
We're going to be assessing the client's passive range of motion of the client's hip, and this will be done with the knee relaxed and the ankle relaxed. So
Can I touch your leg?
Yes.
Sure.
Awesome. So Will's just going to move his leg up like that and put his leg over the client's leg to stop it from moving, so that we're accurately measuring the mobility of the hip. Now I'm just going to do a quick measurement. Alright. to be about 135 degrees.
On the right foot.
On the right. So now we will be assessing the client's hips passive range of motion with the knee extended. So Will here is just gonna.
I can touch your leg again?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Will is just gonna raise his leg straight up, the knee extended, his foot over the client's leg to hold it down, and then I'm just gonna measure.
Oh, you can go.
So the client's passive range of motion, the client's hip with the knee extended appears to be about 70 degrees. We'll be assessing the client's hips active range of motion, and this will be done with the knee relaxed. So if you wouldn't mind just raising your leg straight up, just like that, yeah. Keeping your back on the ground, your other leg on the ground. I'm just going to do a quick measurement. And the client's active range of motion of the client's hip appears to be about 115 degrees. We'll be assessing the client's hips active range of motion with the knee extended. So if you wouldn't mind just raising your leg straight up, make sure to keep your knee straight, okay? Go as far as you can. All right, thank you. The client's active range of motion of their hip appears to be about 65 degrees.
We did find that indeed the passive and active range of motion are different in our tests. So just going through the numbers we got in tests, we got when the knee joint was relaxed, we got passive range of motion of the hip to be 135 degrees, and when active it was only 115 degrees. And then next, when the knee was extended, we got 70 degrees for passive range of motion and 65 degrees for active range of motion. And to answer the question why the hip joint can be further flexed when pushed or in passive range of motion, it's because the patient's hip flexors aren't sufficient to get a full range of motion in the hip by themselves, and you can always push a joint further with force than the joint would move actively. So we would end up using the exact same active and passive range of motion measurements for client B, because in client B's profession, they need to have a good active and passive range of motion in their hip area. So we would pretty much just assess the patient's range of motion actively and passively, and then determine if it was potentially an inhibiting factor in their profession, or if it could be. And then we'd assign any activities such as stretches or exercises that could improve the active or passive range of motion.
Assessing the passive range of motion of the hamstrings. Why are you laughing?
We have to assess the passive range of motion of his hips.
Oh, I don't know, that's hamstring.
Measurements for the client B, and I kind of skipped from top. Was far superior when you see what these people are running by. We see this occurring in both the tests was because a patient can, and this is because in his there I should say. Yeah, and is not strong enough to fully put it. My bad. Okay. Hi client, today I'm going to show you how to do a Y balance test. So you're going to keep your foot on the middle of the lines here. You're going to move this cone anteriorly, this cone posteromedially, and this cone posterolaterally. Don't make any balance errors and keep all your weight on this foot. Give it a go. $75 centimeters, 80 centimeters, 85 centimeters. Now I'm going to measure the passive range of motion of your ankle's dorsiflexion. So you're going to keep your heel on the ground and push your knee as forward as you can. Go ahead. 30 degrees.
We decided to test the client's passive range of motion of their ankle dorsiflexion, because this motion was most similar to the client's moving the cone anteriorly, which is the client's poorest performance. Therefore, by assessing this, we could determine if there was a limiting factor, so we could assign exercises or stretches to improve the passive range of motion of their ankle dorsiflexion. And by doing this, we would be able to increase the performance of the Y balance test. The measurement does help explain the Y balance performance because the passive range of motion in their ankle dorsiflexion was passively insufficient and therefore would be the limiting factor in moving the cone anteriorly during the Y balance test.
Okay, so my piece of criticism to presenter 1 or Steven would be that he could next time potentially not look at his notes as many times as he did in his presentation. And how can he improve this? That's the question. So I think that he could pretty much memorize what he's going to say before the video starts. And then if he does that, he could actually, almost like he's having a conversation, instead of looking down his notes a couple of times. So that's what he could do in the future.
So Will or presenter 2, during their response, he used a lot of verbal graffiti. So he said words such as and ah quite a bit. One way to solve this is to not go off the script as much as he did, and recite the script as many times as you need before stepping in front of the camera.
So for Ethan or presenter 3, during his response, demonstrated a lack of enthusiasm for his role via his body language. So Ethan had his hands in his pockets, which just shows a lack of enthusiasm for his role. So an easy way to fix this is simply to take his hands out of his pockets and be more engaged with what he's saying.
Alright, so my constructive criticism to presenter 1 or Steven, mostly, not mostly, but he would look down every once in a while and not even, or you could, I guess, say presenter 1. Start over again. Alright, so my criticism to Steven or presenter 1. So my criticism or constructive criticism towards Steven or I guess you could say presenter 1? Yeah, presenter 1. Would be that he didn't really...
So for Ethan or presenter 3,
Now it's recording. Go.
so for Ethan or presenter 3, during his response, he demonstrated,
So Will or presenter 2, during his response, So Will or presenter 1 started off. So Will or presenter 1, during their response, used a lot of verbal graffiti. So he said words such as and ah quite a bit. One way to stop. Okay, so Will, I said started with okay. That. Wait. Let's see if that. Okay.